The Kurt Bergland's 50 Years of Baseball Greatness Home Run Derby Tournament, presented by America 250, is getting set and ready to go to get started with the second half of the tournament, starting on June 15th for the first round of the Home Run Derby Tournament from Citizens Bank Park, the home of this year's MLB All-Star Game in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And what a way to get us leading up to Home Run Derby Monday for the final 8 with the start of the first round of the Kurt Bergland's 50 Years of Baseball Greatness Home Run Derby Tournament. And you're probably wondering, how is the second half of the tournament going to go down? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's go over the rules for the second half of the Kurt Bergland's 50 Years of Baseball Greatness Home Run Derby Tournament. As always, each batter will be given 2.5 minutes to hit as many home runs as possible. Each batter will be guaranteed 1 timeout per round they participate. If tied after each batter takes their turn, we will go to a swing off where round 1 will be given 5 swings per batter, and beginning in round 2 and each preceding round of the tiebreaker, we go to a 3 swing per batter swing off. And again, the higher total number of home runs will advance in the tournament. And my goodness, folks, what a stacked card we are going to feature for the second half of the tournament. But I do want to go over some statistics from the winners of the 30-team team derby portion of the tournament, the qualifying portions of the tournament. There were 1,053 home runs blasted out of the yard in every ballpark that we have gone to for the tournament's qualifying process, where the average home runs hit by the winners was around about 35 home runs, averaging pace per 10 outs was about 3.5 home runs per 10 outs. The most home runs hit by any single qualifier in the qualifying rounds was, of course, Aaron Judge, who hit 64 home runs. The least went to Brian Dozier, who hit only 20 home runs out of the yard. Here were the top 5 most home run hitters during the team home run derby round. Of course, Aaron Judge would have to lead things at number 1 with 64 home runs. Steve Finley would follow behind not too far, only off by 2 home runs with 62. Ryan Howard, the hometown favorites for the tournament, hit 56 home runs. Jim Thome and Paul Konerko would both hit 51 home runs, tied for 4th. And of course, here is the schedule. First off, we begin on June 15th with the following matchups. Fernando Tatis Jr., representing the Padres, will go toe-to-toe with Chris Davis, representing the Baltimore Orioles. In our next matchup, Prince Fielder, representing the Milwaukee Brewers, will go toe-to-toe with Paul Konerko, the representative for the Chicago White Sox. Our third derby matchup will consist of Joey Votto, representing the Cincinnati Reds, and he will go up against Brandon Lowe, the representative for the Tampa Bay Rays. In our fourth derby of the first day of the first round, Big Papi, David Ortiz, representing the Red Sox, will go toe-to-toe with Ron Gant, the representative for the Atlanta Braves. And in our final day 1 home run derby matchup on Monday, June 15th, it's going to be Alvin Davis representing the Seattle Mariners against Nolan Arenado representing the Colorado Rockies. With that being said, that's Monday. What about the rest of the field making out the first round? Well, here's what we have coming for you on Wednesday of next week. Jim Thome, representing the Cleveland Guardians, will go toe-to-toe with Jason Giambi, representing for this tournament only, the Oakland Athletics. In our next matchup, oh man, Barry Bonds representing the San Francisco Giants will go toe-to-toe with Juan Gonzalez representing the Texas Rangers. And this is probably a must-see matchup here as Aaron Judge of the New York Yankees will go toe-to-toe with Mike Trout representing the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. In our fourth matchup on Home Run Derby Wednesday will be Jeff Bagwell representing the Houston Astros as he will go toe-to-toe with former NL Central rivalry teammate Albert Pujols representing the St. Louis Cardinals. And in another must-can't-miss matchup for the first round, of course, Sammy Sosa representing the Chicago Cubs will go toe-to-toe with Vladimir Guerrero Sr. representing the Washington Nationals. That is on Wednesday. What about on Home Run Derby Friday? As we wrap up the first round on Friday, it will be Salvador Perez versus Steve Finley in one matchup. Salvador Perez representing the Kansas City Royals, Steve Finley representing the Arizona Diamondbacks. Our second matchup on Home Run Derby Friday will consist of Ryan Howard representing the Philadelphia Phillies, the hometown Philadelphia Phillies, as he will go toe-to-toe with cross-state rival Willie Stargell representing the Pittsburgh Pirates. And of course, that round is considered the poop round, P-O-O-P. In our third matchup, Pete Alonso representing the New York Mets will go toe-to-toe with Giancarlo Stanton representing the Miami Marlins. And in our final Home Run Derby matchup of the first round, Miguel Cabrera representing the Detroit Tigers. And he will go toe-to-toe against Brian Dozier representing the Minnesota Twins. That is your schedule for the first round matchup starting on Monday. And then continuing on Wednesday, and then continuing with the final four said matchups that we just went over on Friday. And again, here is the must-watch matchups of round one to be looking out for. Of course, Aaron Judge versus Mike Trout is going to be one of them. That matchup is probably going to be huge. Another matchup will consist of Pete Alonso versus Giancarlo Stanton. This is kind of like a meh matchup, but it's a 50-50 matchup, to say the least. And of course, our final must-watch matchups in round one is Sammy Sosa, as he will take on Vladimir Guerrero Sr. in their Home Run Derby matchup on Wednesday. And with that being said, round one will get started on June 15th. So stay tuned for the first round of action for the Kurt Bergland's 50 Years of Baseball Greatness Home Run Derby Tournament.